Okay, this is it. This is the last one for a while. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife, and today we are going to haul some books, and then I'm going on a buying run. I have got to kind of stop spending money on things I don't need, buying things that I don't need, and buying books and then letting them fester on my shelf for about 6 to 8 business months. I am going to try and stop my stash for a little while. So this is the last book haul that you are possibly going to see for a while. I think it's going to run until about Christmas, because I generally tend to go and buy a couple of books at Christmas time. I spend my book jar in the early months of the following year, so there's definitely going to be scope for me to buy some new books in the future. So this is the last one for a while. Enjoy it. Surprisingly, there are a couple of thrillers on the list, so let's start with those ones. This is The Club by Ellery Lloyd. I picked this up on the way back from Mallorca. I bought this in the airport, and I've heard a couple of things about it. This is about a kind of exclusive villa, private club, and once you get in, it's very difficult for you to get back out. I've seen it being mentioned on Book Break before a couple of times, and I was super intrigued by it. I had actually made a NetGalley request for this, but I got turned down, so hopefully this is still going to be as intriguing a couple of years later. The next one is really interesting to me, and that is Murder in the Family by Cara Hunter. I've read a couple of Cara's other books before. She does a series about DCI Alex Crawley, I think their name is, and his work as a detective and the cases that he has to solve. But this time, you are the detective. You're given all of the notes, you're given all of the facts about the case, and you have to try and solve it before the detectives in this book do. It sounds a lot to me like The Appeal, and I was so intrigued by The Appeal. I absolutely adored that one. So hopefully this is going to hook me just as much. I have a couple of friends who would like to buddy read this with me, so I'm gonna see who's available at the time that I actually pick this one up. And let's see how I do with picking this one out. Next one up is The Last Devil to Die by Richard Osman. My family and I read these books together. We kind of pass them around when we're finished to each other, and I have got my hands on the last copy. However, I am the one in the family who is the most behind in the series. I haven't read the second or the third, so I do need to pick those two up before I get here. Because of that, because I'm so far behind, I don't actually know what we're talking about here. I don't know what this book is about. I just know that I'm going to want to read it at some time. Speaking of the second book in the series, my dad passed over to me The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman so that I can start catching up. I have got this one, and I have got The Bullet That Missed still to read, and the next time that I see my family, I'm going to pass this one back over, and then I'm going to get The Bullet That Missed, and it gives me a chance to get a new book into my TBR that I don't have to spend a single cent on. What benefit is that? Now, I, again, have absolutely no idea what this book is about. I do understand that it is about a man who dies 2 times, but I don't know what else the Thursday Murder Club are going to get up to. I don't know what else they're going to be involved in the story. I am just so excited to see where this is going to take me. Next up is Homegoing by Ya Gassi. This was Cal's favourite for the Amazing Readathon, and it was also a yellow cover, so it was one that I really wanted to get to in the month. And I got this as a loan from a friend of mine from work. I gave her Yellow Face, she gave me Ya Gassi. I am intrigued by this book, but I didn't actually get to it in August, and I have promised her that I'm going to read it before I give it back. So let's see if I actually get to it. I'm not entirely sure what this is about. I think it's about 2 sisters whose lives are entwined by slavery, and I think it's set somewhere in Africa. She said that she really enjoyed it, and she said that it would be a book for me. Not entirely sure what she meant by that, but I'm intrigued to see what she means. Next up is Love Me Do by Lindsay Kelk. Lindsay Kelk is one of my auto-buy authors. If she brings out a book, it's instantly going on my TBR. This one is about Phoebe, who is a greetings card writer and who goes over to LA to spend some time with her sister, who's moved over there. Phoebe falls in love with her sister's neighbor and starts to write her own love story when she's never done that before. I've heard whispers that there's a little bit more steam in this one than any other Lindsay Kelk book, which I am definitely here for. The cover is super summery. I really love this kind of Lilo in a pool situation. And I'm a little bit sorry that I haven't gotten to it while the weather has been so good, but let's see if I can prioritize it for the rest of the year. Next up is Cle Cute by Meryl Wilsner. This is, I think, their 3rd book. I have read one of their other books and I haven't read the debut one. So I have already read Mistakes Were Made. I haven't read Something to Talk About. This is going to be my 2nd of their books, and the main reason that I wanted to read it is that Brianna cannot shut the hell up about it. She has told me that if I read this, it's going to ruin any other romance book for me, which I'm super intrigued by. I know that this is about two girls who play on the same soccer team. I think their names are Phoebe and Grace. Yeah, Phoebe and Grace, who play on the same soccer team and who are now battling for the same position that has just become available. One of them, I think, is coming back from an injury. One of them has just started on the team. And I'm so intrigued in a rivals to lovers, sapphic sports romance. I haven't read a whole lot of sports romances, so let's see if this is something that is actually going to be up my street. All I know is that Meryl Wilsner's writing really works for me, so I am hoping it's going to work here too. Next up is The Beach Holiday by Isabel Broom. I absolutely love Isabel's books because they basically take place anywhere in the world. She's had books that have been set in Prague, she's had books that have been set in New Zealand, in Thailand, in Spain. So you can basically travel the entire world without even getting up off your couch. This one, I think, is set in New York. It is set on a beach house in the Hamptons. And Isabel and I have kind of spoken about this before. I kind of told her a story about something that happened to me in New York, and she said that it was the most funny thing she's ever heard in her life. So let's see if this made the story after all. But I absolutely love the kind of adventure that she gives me when I'm reading any of her books. So let's take another trip to New York today. Next one up is kind of a bittersweet book. It is one of my favorite series, but it is the last in the series and I'm not ready to say goodbye yet. This is Ashling Ever After by Sarah Breen and Emer McLysa. This copy was actually given to me by the publisher, so Gale Books, thank you so much for sending this my way. I have got a plan for this book. I would love to read all 5 of the Ashling books together and give her the send-off that she properly deserves. Give her the send-off that she is owed, basically. But I need to find some time where I am ready to emotionally destroy myself. I absolutely adore Ashling. I feel like I am a little bit of an Ashling myself, and a lot of the things that have happened to her have happened to me simultaneously as I've been reading these books. So I feel like this is one of my comfort reads. It's definitely one that I need to read on a dreary October or November evening here in Berlin, where the nights are starting to draw in, temperatures are starting to plummet, it's raining, it's cold, and I'm sat under a blanket with a book, with some hot toast, with some tea. I think that's just what we need to do. Also, I feel like tea and toast is a very Ashling meal. I think she'd really enjoy it. I'm not entirely sure what happens in the 5th book, but I know that there was something that happened at the end of the 4th book that might influence what's going to happen here. Not entirely sure I love it if that's the direction that we're going to go in, but I've heard a couple of people who have absolutely loved this. It has sent them into tears. It has made them feel like this is the send-off that Ashling deserves, and hopefully that's the same thing I'm going to feel. Finally is The Mysterious Case of the AllPerson Angels by Janice Hallett. I read this in the middle of the Amazing Readathon, and it was an up and down book, but overall, I kind of enjoyed it. This is about 2 journalists who are working on the story of the AllPerson Angels, a cult who thought that a baby who had been born to them was the next coming of the devil. The baby is now 18 years old, and Amanda, who is one of the journalists, is trying to find out what happened to the child, if they're still around, and if they are, where are they living now. There's a lot of twists, there's a lot of turns in this book, just like there was in The Appeal. It's told in pretty much the exact same way. So it is told in the form of transcripts, it's told in the form of phone calls, it's told in the form of emails. And I really loved that part of The Appeal, and I really loved that part of the AllPerson Angels. But somewhere along the line, storyline kind of got me down a little bit. I'm hoping that when I go back to the Christmas Appeal and when I go back to the Twyford Code, we're going to be back on the upswing again. So let's see how we get on with those ones. However, this one might not stay on my collection quite that long. I might hand this back to my dad. Those are all of the books that came into my possession between July and the end of September. What book have you bought the most recently, and have you actually read it yet? If you'd love to leave me a comment but you can't think of anything you'd like to say, then just leave me the shopping bags emoji. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.